on YouTube. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. My name is Kristen Don Hefner, and I am the Measure 110 Strategy and Engagement Manager with OHA. I will be facilitating with today's meeting. The Oversight and Accountability Council welcomes and encourages community input. Members of the public are invited to submit public comments or get on our interested parties email list by emailing oha.measure110@dhsoha.state.or.us. That email address and more information about the council can be found on the Measure 110 OAC website. OAC members have asked that that OHA and other staff who are present in the meeting space introduce themselves in the chat. Please share your role with the agency, and if you are a subject matter expert, your area of expertise. I will now turn it over to Sydney for roll.
Hello, everybody. If you could please stay here for the record when I call your name. Amy.
Here.
Hi, Amy. Carlos.
Here.
Hi, Carlos.
Hello.
Dharma.
Here.
Hey, Dharma. Thanks for joining. Hubert.
Here.
Hi, Hubert.
Hello.
Jackie.
Here.
Hi, Jackie. Jaren.
Here.
Hi, Jaren. Sorry, I'm reading over people who said they wouldn't be here. Caroline, Hunter, and Lakeisha all said they would not be able to attend today. Leticia?
Here.
Hi, Leticia. Linda also will not be able to make it. Melinda?
Here.
Hi, Melinda.
Hello.
Meredith?
You okay?
Yeah, are you there?
Okay.
There you are.
Yes.
I see.
Okay.
Hi, Meredith.
Hello.
Morgan?
Here.
Hi, Morgan. Has Nicole arrived? I don't see Nicole yet. Onisha also will not be able to make it today. Ron?
Ron's here.
Hi, Ron. Ryan?
Here.
Hi, Ryan. Sabrina?
Yes, I'm here.
Hey, Sabrina. Zeb?
Yes, I'm here.
Hi, Zeb. And then Tori will also not be able to make it, and Jackie.
Here.
Hi, Jackie. All right, we have 15 present.
Thank you. I'll turn it over to Amy.
Hello, my name is Amy Madrigal Bates, and if I could welcome you to the ballot measure 110 meeting. Today we do have voting matters, and on our agenda is we will be looking at the grantee subcontract discussion and then a vote from Pathfinders Network. Presenter name is Leticia. We also have the grant extension discussion, and we'll need to vote on that. And then the Q3 data discussion and any OHA updates as well. And so let's see, we went out of order on my list. So I believe we are ready to actually hear from Pathfinders Network at this point. So I'd like to introduce Pathfinders Network and turn it over, I guess, to Leticia.
Yes, thank you so much. Just appreciate your time today, Council. Thank you so much for the opportunity to talk about our services and our request for your support to continue our employment support subcontract with Nathan Beard Job Development. So I'm Leticia Longoria Navarro. I'm the Executive Director of the Pathfinder Network. I use she, her, pronouns, and if it's okay, I'd like to share my screen. All right, here we go. All right, can everyone see my screen okay? Beautiful. Okay, so I wanted to just start giving you kind of an overview of the services that we're providing and that are supported by Measure 110. So we are providing the Resilience and Recovery Project. It is, again, a 110 supported peer support program for justice system impacted community members. And we're providing it in Jackson, Marion, and Multnomah counties. Our specific request today is for your continued support of a subcontract that we have with a employment support and job development contractor as a part of our wraparound peer support services. So let's see if I can get my computer to respond. Just a little bit about why we designed the program and why we think it is a good use of Measure 110 funds. Our goals really are to walk alongside justice system impacted individuals, specifically to help build individual, social, and community resources that lead to long-term resilience and recovery. We work really specifically to remove barriers and increase access to care and resources, to really support folks with addiction recovery and other supportive services that are relevant and responsive to the individuals that we're working with. We really try to commit to providing wraparound services that are holistic, again, responsive and relevant to the folks that we're working with, that really center our participants and their needs along the way. We employ peer support specialists doing a bunch of different kind of roles with lived experience, of course, to engage participants and really a goal-oriented focused relationship that's personalized. And we use both individual and group peer support services to accomplish those goals. We really try to develop relationships that are centered and driven by our participants, our community, reinforce successes that we know exist, self-efficacy that is embedded with individuals and communities, inspire hope and resilience, whether someone needs one-time support, short-term or long-term support. We provide drop-in spaces where community members can access support on the spot. We also use mobile peer support, really to meet folks where we're at in the community and deploy support wherever it might be needed. And again, we're providing this program in Jackson, Marion, and Multnomah County. Today, I'm going to talk specifically about our Jackson and Multnomah programs, because that is where we are utilizing employment support and job development as a part of our wraparound peer support services. And I wanted to just lift up kind of what the peer team that is funded and supported by Measure 110 looks like. So we have a combination of peer support staff that are facilitating support groups, classes, and then we have gender responsive, bilingual, culturally responsive peers. We also have parent partner positions, as well as bilingual parent partner positions that are working specifically with parents who are involved in other systems and trying to maintain contact and relationship with their children. So just to give you a sense of who is on our team. The supports and services that we provide, really the first priority is to try to do as much wraparound as we possibly can. So we do have drop-in peer support available, mobile peer support, like I was talking about. We also focus on transition and reentry support. So being able to provide support when folks are in jail as they're releasing or preparing to transition. We're providing parenting focused peer support to try to keep families together and remove barriers to contact. We do resilience and recovery action planning after we've done kind of an assessment and looked at, what strengths, what needs, what barriers are present. Lots of referrals and resource support to make sure that we can meet basic needs, treatment, recovery needs, human needs. Absolutely, the employment support that we're here to talk about today to connect people to employment opportunities, education opportunities, and really anything that's involved with preparing folks for work and employment. We provide basic needs assistance, some incentives, really to help motivate folks towards progress to their goals and things that they need to accomplish, whether they're mandated or something that they've identified that's personally important to them. And then we also provide peer support in classes, groups, activities, and events. And we're currently operating drop-in centers in Jackson and Multnomah County. So the first photo is of our Resilience and Recovery drop-in center in Multnomah County. The second two are drop-in centers that we are operating in Jackson County. One called Parkside Place, and then another, the Collaborative, that is really responsive specifically to women and gender diverse individuals. Folks can access resources at any of our sites, but these are really tailored to providing wraparound services on the spot. Give you an idea of some of the peer support groups that we're offering. Sometimes these are to get people prepared for formal treatment. This might be something to just provide support with barriers, but we're providing a kind of suite of different cognitive behavioral addiction and trauma groups. So just to name a few, Free Your Mind, Women in Recovery, Healing Trauma, Building Resilience, Helping Women Recover, Helping Men Recover, and then we're also offering peer support groups. Quarterly, we're offering peer support community events, which is really to bring together providers, specifically peer providers, to one spot to connect them to participants and community members. We just had 2 last week, had 200 people show up in Jackson County and Medford. And I think we had 9 different community providers present, providing information and access to support and services. And then we also do peer support activities really to bring folks together who are navigating the same kind of barriers, working through some of the same struggles, to celebrate accomplishments, to just be in community, working towards recovery, and just other goals, right, that are about their well-being and ability to thrive. So that just kind of lifts up some of the things we're doing on a group-based or community-based around peer support. I want to just give you a snapshot of our impact with these 2 programs over the last fiscal year. This would have been data from July to June, or July 2022 to June 2023. So in Jackson County, we launched our Measure 110 services in September. We served 854 people, over 5,500 hours of service. We had 96 people successfully complete our wraparound services, and the assessments that we use indicated that they had increases in both recovery and resilience capital, which are those assets and skills, protective factors that are helping people navigate many challenges, but also moving them towards success and accomplishment with the things that are important to them. We delivered 54 classes, hosted 4 peer support events and activities, offered 96 different occurrences of basic needs support, and made over 1,000 referrals. In Jackson County in Multnomah, we launched in March of 2023, served 350 people, over 1,700 hours of service, 65 successfully completed wraparound services. Again, you'll see the assessments that we're using are indicating that folks are experiencing increases in both recovery and resilience capital. 4 classes delivered, 7 peer support events and activities, 424 occurrences of basic needs support, and 317 external referrals made. So again, just a snapshot of what these services are providing and the impact that they're having. One of the core components that we built into our initial applications for funding were kind of a part of our wraparound services were employment support and job development services, where we could have somebody who specializes in this work come to our drop-in centers, provide in-person and virtual support. So this just gives you a snapshot of what we had in our budget narrative around the employment support and job development services. The 2 key services that we're providing are employment support, which could be a number of things. It could be resume and cover letter development, job search, support with filling out applications, assistance with ordering kind of key documents or things that are needed to find employment or get employment, connection to employers, practicing and preparing for interviews, support navigating things like backgrounds, drug tests, and other procedures that are required to gain employment, and then providing workshops like how do you talk about having a criminal record, what do you do when someone asks you about specific charges or offenses, what does it look like to do an interview. And then the other thing is the creation and maintenance of an employment database that's specific to our population, where people can access kind of a binder in all of our drop-ins and electronically a bunch of different job leads. And we get those sent to us weekly. And then again, I just spoke to that, a maintenance of both a physical and electronic job database. So those were the services that we wanted to embed into our wraparound peer support and drop-in model. And so what we established early in September of 2022 was an agreement with Nathan Beard Job Development, basically to span the period of our grant and the budget that we proposed and was approved. So the basic kind of agreement is that he is offering 9 hours of support services, 4 that are dedicated to Jackson, 4 that are dedicated to Multnomah, and then 1 hour of database work. So that's the work where he's kind of finding the job leads and sending them weekly to both of our teams. Again, to cover 2 key services, individual employment support to our participants, and then the maintenance of these job leads and employment database. So the contract was just under what we were budgeted, contract $58,900. We're looking at about an average of 36 hours of service per month. The invoice is split completely separately to basically detail the services that are providing under each grant, under each county. And we are currently on track with services and spending as proposed, not just in our budget, but also in the agreement with Nathan Beard. This just gives you an example of what these job leads look like. So weekly, we got probably 4 to 5 for each county, different job leads that basically have been vetted. We know the information about how to, apply, what's going to be required. On average, we're serving about 10 to 12 participants each month. And those are usually folks that have significant need that cannot be referred because we just have a limited resource for these services. Folks that we cannot refer anywhere else or just may not be best served in other places. So when we started in November 2022 through June 2023, we served 77 participants with the employment support and job development services. 26 jobs were obtained, 43 resume and cover letters. We have a total of 68 documents that were created for those 77 participants to assist in their job search, kind of job preparation and job placement. Things like food handler cards, birth certificates, and IDs. And to date, our employment databases, we have 340 profiles in Jackson County and 156 profiles in Multnomah County. And again, those sit in a binder physically in our drop-in centers, but they're also available in our drop-in computers electronically. A snapshot of July, which was the most recent data that we have, we served 18 participants with 74 contacts and 31 hours of services. And these were some of the services that were provided. Resumes, cover letters, again, food handler cards, IDs, job leads, referrals to the employment department to get more specific support and help, application support, connection with potential employers, support with different certifications that are required for jobs. And then wanted to lift up just the stories that reflect some of the numbers that I've been presenting to. So I'll just read one of these to you. A participant signed up for services with us the day she was released from jail. The participant had nowhere to stay, no positive support system, and reported she was feeling lost and unsure of herself and her ability to find a new way. Since engaging in wraparound peer support services, she's accomplished most of her goals she set, including obtaining an ID, finding safe and stable housing, finding employment with the support of Nathan Beard job development, and building a recovery support system. She's gained confidence and has the ability to advocate for herself in order to get her needs met. So just one story of the impact of being able to provide these services. So our ask today, we have been operating under this contract and this agreement. It was something we proposed in our application and our budget request that was approved to be able to maintain this subcontract to continue providing employment and job development services to our participants. Thank you so much for the opportunity to present this information. I'm happy to answer any questions or any comments address any comments you might have.
I just wanted to
If
make a
you're
comment.
talking, it looks like you're on mute, Amy, but I
Yeah,
see
sorry,
Carlos.
it wasn't letting
Carlos's
me.
hand up.
It wasn't unmuting me. Okay, thank you, Leticia, for that presentation. It was very well put together, I thought. Nice. So let's see, any discussion? Right? Okay. Any discussion on what we just saw?
And Carlos, I know you had your hand up, so just want to make sure you have an opportunity to say what you want to say.
I just wanted to thank you for all of the work that y'all do. I just know the work that you do, through Latino Network or Latino Network, Instituto Latino, the Juntos Podemos.
Yeah,
And I know that you all do really good work. And I just wanted to thank you for putting together that presentation.
thank you, Carlos.
Ron?
I was just going to echo that sentiment. I want to thank you for all the great work and congratulations on the great work that your organization is doing throughout the state. It's absolutely tremendous presentation. I really love the way that you laid out kind of the successes and the details of how the program operates, who's delivering the services. And I just thought it was a tremendous presentation. And I just congratulate you on the great work that your organization is doing.
Thank you, Rob.
Any other discussion? Okay, so I guess we can call it, does anybody want to make a motion? Right? So I believe we need to make a motion
I move to
Okay.
approve the subcontract with the organization as proposed.
I'll second
I
it.
second.
Oh, okay.
I couldn't get off mute to make the motion. I'm
Yeah.
like, what's going on?
I know. Okay, so we have a motion to approve and we have a second. So I would like to turn it over to Sydney for a vote.
Thanks, Amy. I apologize. I'm having camera issues, so I went ahead and turned that off. But so the motion is to approve the subcontract as proposed and was seconded. Amy, how do you vote?
Yes.
Thank you. Carlos
Yes.
and Dharma.
Yes.
Hubert,
Yes.
Jackie Mercer,
Yes.
Jaren, Jaren, if you're having audio, you can vote in the chat. Oh, there you
Yeah,
go.
I didn't know this happened, but I vote yes. Sorry about that.
Okay. That's no problem. Thank you. Melinda,
Absolutely, yes.
Meredith,
Yes.
Morgan,
Yes.
Nicole, Nicole, are you there? Come back to Nicole. Ron,
Yes.
Ryan,
Yes.
Sabrina,
Yes.
and Zeb.
Yes.
Thank you. And then Nicole, are you there to vote? Okay, well, we have 15 present, 13 yes votes, so that passes.
Thank you, Sydney, and thank you, Leticia, for that presentation. Really appreciate you being here. Back to you, Amy.
Absolutely. Thank you, Council.
Thank you. Okay, so back to me, and now we're going to. I'm going to turn it back over to Kristen, I believe, right? Yeah, I'm turning it back
Yep.
over to Kristen to discuss the grant extension stuff.
Thank you, Amy. So we are here today to bring you the first slate of grant extensions. We're starting with a small group, and our plan is to hopefully scale up over time as we kind of work the kinks out of this process. So appreciate you bearing with us, but we're excited to start getting these moving. Next slide. So I want to talk just a little bit about the process that our team has been busy doing over these last several weeks and months, because it's been definitely a long process, and I just really appreciate and want to shout out to our team for their diligence in making this happen. So all of our Measure 110 partners were asked to submit a grant extension budget request. And as part of those instructions, partners were told they could not request capital funding for real property or vehicles. And that was, I think, a direction that we took from the council. Partners were also asked to calculate their spending and carryover funds. So to their best ability, what they would be able to spend through December of this year when the original grant period ends. Essentially, they were asked, what do you need to maintain Measure 110 services through June 2025? Our team then validated all of these requests. We made sure the budget asks were clear. We made sure that partners didn't cut services in requests that indicated that a partner was going to cut services or significantly reduce services. We asked them to revise that and send it back to us to restore those cuts and to ensure that budget asks were in alignment with the approved scope of work. So there wasn't anything either added or taken away. And we kind of use this as a back and forth process with our partners. We're given multiple chances for revisions until I think everyone felt comfortable with the final ask. Next slide. Partners were then asked to certify that ask to verify their carryover spending to the best of their ability was correct, and that their extension budget request was also correct. Partners affirmed that any unspent grant funding would be returned, again, to really keep these asks as accurate as possible, knowing it's sometimes really hard to project into the future, and to update their contact information. So we're still negotiating with a few partners and getting a few folks to certify budget requests, so those step 2 and step 3. But now we're also entering step 4 of this process, where our team is verifying that partners are in substantial compliance with the terms of their grant, which means that they have a current registration with the Oregon Secretary of State as a business. They've submitted all required certificates of insurance that are in their grant agreement. That they've submitted all required 12 policies and procedures, and that they did not have any outstanding items to cure. So this list of 20 that we're bringing you have completed steps 1 through 4. I want to be clear that this does not mean that there are a bunch of partners out of compliance. This was just the first batch that we kind of got through, and we are getting more on deck to bring in subsequent meetings. Next slide. So these are the first set of grantees. You were all sent these, I believe, earlier this week, along with a little bit more information about their original ask, their reported carryover, and their new kind of 18-month extension amount. So this column really represents what each partner will receive over the course of 36 months. That is July 2022 through June of 2025. To perform all of their approved services. Next slide. So I think we can put up the other slide, but just want to make sure that we are giving space to call for conflicts before we get into a discussion. If anyone has a conflict with anyone on the previous slide. Let me go back to the list. There we go. Thanks. Sabrina.
I just want to make sure these were all the counties that were claiming or for potential conflict of interest. Just because it kind of looks like maybe it could scroll down a little bit. So I just want to clarify that was all. This is the whole list ending at Washington. Just saying it that way would be easier, I think.
Yeah, this is the whole list ending in Washington. Again, this is
okay.
a small subset. This is kind of our trial run
Okay.
for more to come.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to make sure. Thank you.
Okay, not seeing any other hands for conflicts. Is there any discussion? Yes, Sabrina.
My hand is still up. I'm sorry.
Oh, no worries. You're good. Okay, not seeing any other hands. Oh,
I'm sorry, I couldn't, my screen is being weird, but I guess my question is, if people have reached out to some of these guys and not been able to get a hold of them for services for clients or anything, I don't know, it just, who do they go to or what? I guess that's a different discussion. Never mind, I don't have any discussion. It'll be fine.
all right. Yeah, Ron.
No, I was just going to thank the staff for putting this together and doing all that background and doing all the due diligence and having the wherewithal to really, go over those budgets and interact with the providers to ensure that they're able to deliver the services as promised, that they're within the spirit and intent and scope of the services that we have all basically said we want to see, continuing. I just want to really appreciate the amount of work that must have gone into bringing this forward. And I'm really looking forward to moving forward with getting this extension funding out to organizations, because we know that there's a lot of great work happening out there. And I just want to thank the staff and I want to thank the people providing the services.
Thank you, Ron. I am very proud of our team. They have done a lot, and this has never been done before. So they are really, really doing so much. I'm so proud of them. I think Dharma and then Leticia.
I certainly don't want to take away from like the important work that these organizations are doing, and all of us, but I do want to just express some concern in that, like, that we're going through another set of grant extensions without opening up to any new partners, just because I feel like what got us into the mess of the situation that we were in with behavioral health in Oregon before was a lack of innovation in our systems. And I worry that us funding the same organizations without a lot of efficacy data and a lot of and trying newer modalities for care and treatment will continue to kind of perpetuate these same norms that got us to the standings that we had in national behavioral health. And so I worry that by not funding more community-based organizations or organizations that are going to specifically benefit those most impacted by the war on drugs, like specifically BIPOC communities, trans and queer communities, and communities that are just disproportionately impacted by substance use disharmony, that we're going to continue to be at a disservice to the communities most impacted by SUD and addiction. So I just worry that, I just want to express this concern. I don't think that we should not fund all of these grantees, but I'm just expressing that concern on the record, that I really am concerned that we're not looking at ways to innovate who we're funding, because I really don't think that treatment beds or services offered is the best and only metric for care transformation, especially systems change. Thanks.
Thanks, Dharma. Leticia?
Yeah, I would like to state a conflict of interest, an actual conflict of interest with the Pathfinder Network in Jackson County. And so I will need to abstain from the vote.
Thanks, Leticia. Just turn your camera off and you're good. We'll still have you here for quorum purposes, though. We'll keep you. And we have another presentation after this, so don't go. Yeah, Ron.
Yeah, it was just a question regarding process. So are we gonna vote on the entire slate? Or are we gonna, which is what I would prefer as opposed to going one by one?
That is the proposed motion that we have. If you want to fast forward a few slides, we have that as a draft motion. Of course, y'all can choose a different way and direct us to bring these forward a different way going forward.
No, I'm in favor of this, and I don't know where we're at, but I'd like to move to extend the grant amendments of the
Second.
organization listed on slide 4 through June 30th, 2025.
Second.
Oh,
Yeah, do we have 2 seconds from Melinda and from Jackie? And for discussion.
I think that that this is great because this is exactly what we were looking for. All these organizations getting these services out. So I like this presentation a lot, and I think we should fund them.
Thanks, Melinda. All right, Cindy, do you want to pull down these slides and take a vote?
Sure. The motion was as stated on that slide to extend grant agreements of the organizations that we showed through June 30th, 2025, and that was seconded. Amy, how do you vote?
yes.
Carlos,
Yes.
Dharma,
Yes.
Hubert,
Yes.
Jackie Mercer.
It is hard to get to the unmute button sometimes.
Yeah.
I apologize.
No problem.
But I definitely vote yes. Yay.
Thank you. Jaren,
Yes.
thank you. Oops. And Leticia has a conflict. Melinda,
Yes.
Meredith,
Yes.
Morgan,
Yes.
Nicole,
Yes.
Ron,
Yes.
Ryan,
Yes.
Sabrina,
Yes.
and Zeb.
Yes.
All right, that passes with 14 yes, 1 abstention, and we have 16 total present. Back to you guys.
Okay, good job. And now we're going to pass it back to the presenter for the Q3 data reporting discussion.
I think that is me again. So thank you all for bearing with me again. But I wanted to share that we have updated our Measure 110 dashboard this morning with Q3 data. So data that providers reported between January and March of this year. So all of this has been updated and is on our website. Some of these slides probably look familiar. We just added a new July 2023 bubble to this timeline. But there are a few things that I do want to call out. This slide has not changed. These are all of the same burns. We have updated how people can find a burn partner, allowing folks to either select a city or county, and then also a service area, and that will display the burn providers and their websites in that area. So making it a little easier for folks to navigate if you don't know your county. We also include some background information on data reporting steps. This was previously published, so hopefully it's familiar. But that leads us to the actual data. So as you can see here, these little bars continue to increase. Highlights include people accessing SUD treatment services increased by 41% over the previous quarter, for a 104% gain between the start of the program and the current quarter. Some of these largest gains that you see here come from housing and supported employment, as you can see here in this table, I think, which is important to call out because these are two services that are not funded by Medicaid. So really underscoring that there is a need and a lot of demand, and that Measure 110 is filling this gap. In total, we had over 47,000 service encounters in Q3 alone, which is a 134% increase over the previous quarter. And I encourage everyone to look at this because you can select by county and really click around here. We also have reported basic race and ethnicity of burn clients. Providers have reported more client encounters with communities of color, including a 126% increase in serving Latino, Latina, and Latinx clients, a 49% increase in serving Black and African American clients, and a 180% increase in serving American Indian and Alaska Native clients. Over time, we'll be collecting more providers or helping more providers transitioning to collect Real D information and hosting some technical assistance sections to help people maybe get more of this information, because we know that the unknown category is still pretty big. But again, that kind of can come from just the kinds of services that are being provided and appropriately not wanting to ask all of these questions the first time a provider may encounter a client. We also have reported on age ranges. We have still yet to develop a good way to report on gender and gender identity. We are looking at perhaps next quarter publishing the information on a regional basis. I think we really want to be mindful that some of that information can be really sensitive. And although we do suppress small numbers, we want to make sure that client confidentiality couldn't accidentally be disclosed by publishing all of this data together. So that is something that we're looking for in the future in terms of demographics. We've updated our page on what burn partners are saying. So we ask their successes, how they've lowered barriers and some challenges. If you click on one of these topics and then a theme, you'll see some stories pop up that burn partners have reported in this last quarter. So there is a lot here to click through, which is really exciting. We also have added a new tab on how burns are changing people's lives and serving individual clients. So if you click on kind of one of these themes, you'll see some stories pop up by organizations that have served these individuals. So we have the themes of lives saved, clients entering recovery, clients stably housed, stabilizing families, clients gaining community, youth accessing services, and clients employed. And finally, we have expenditure data from the third quarter. And in here, you can really just see how spending is shifting away from this capital bucket and towards personnel and services and supplies, which is what we expect as programs build their infrastructure and they're now kind of operationalizing all of these services. We also see really large investments in housing and peer support services, which I think is another thing kind of important to call out. because these are two services that are also not funded by Medicaid or insurance. So really showing that Measure 110 is filling a need and a demand in the community that otherwise doesn't necessarily have those services available. So our team put out a press release, which we can share with you all. I think the send button was hit as we started this meeting. And we'll be working, I think, to amplify some of these stories moving forward. But with that, happy to take questions or feedback. Yes, Dharma.
Really great presentation. Thank you. I'm super glad to see this data getting out there. I just want to express some serious concern about the lack of SOGI data. And I know from personal experience that 100% of the transgender clients I work with have experienced discrimination accessing services, 100%. And it's not reflected in the data because we're consistently not reported. And so I think that it's really important that we prioritize figuring out how to better access that data if it's a matter of asking clients for consent to give out their gender identity data on these kinds of reports or something else. I think it's really important that we figure it out because I feel like we're really heavily underrepresented here, and that funding decisions, priority-based decisions will continue to be made excluding transgender folks who are one of the most disproportionately impacted by substance use, especially trans women of color and Black trans women. It's really just jarring to see that they still haven't had this process figured out. Thanks.
Thank you, Dharma, and we will definitely work to include that information in future dashboards. Amy, I think you had your hand up next.
Yeah, so I went on the website. It is user friendly. I did like that. And I really appreciate your presentation. My concern was that I was trying to help someone navigate for help. And the 3 people that popped up in their county when we went on there, no one answered the phone. No one returned her calls. No one got back to her. She still to date has not had any help or any contact. And I know this too, because I also reached out to them and no one returned my calls and no one's gotten back to me and no one answers the phones. So that is a little concerning when these are the only 3 that pop up in Washington County are the 3 that we funded and they don't answer and they're non-responsive. So that's my discussion on that is, do we have the right numbers? Are we sure? And if so, why are they not answering? Because that's not helping us with support. So.
Absolutely. And, I think if you want to share some of that information in writing, we can definitely follow up with those providers. Part of what we are doing through the grant extension process is we explicitly ask, what is your make sure we have your correct number. What is your client number? What is your outreach number? What are your hours? What is your website? How do people find you? And so we will be making sure that we have that as part of this dashboard in future iterations. But that said, if people are calling the right numbers and not getting a response, that's inexcusable. So definitely please follow up with us.
Is there a link they can report that on the ballot measure 110? Like if, hey, this is what's happening. Is there something like that on that website for people to access?
We are working on
that, like clients.
We're working on building that functionality, but in the meantime, they can send us an email, and that's the best way. Sydney just put it in the chat, but it's oha.measure110@odhsoha.oregon.gov.
Perfect. That's good information for the public. Thank you.
Ron.
Yeah, thank you. Just going back a little bit to the data. So on the service encounters page, it also there's a button that has service encounters, and then there's a button that says number of clients, I think. And so so I understand, because I'm trying to put this in a reasonable way. So I understand that in the previous, when we got the first announcement, I went across all of the for quarter 1 and 2, I went across all of the columns, I added them up, and I came up with a number. And in my head, and I said it in a meeting, oh wow, we've served over 50,000 people during quarter 1 and 2. Then I circled back and I checked with staff and the data analyst people and said, is that an accurate statement? And found out that was not an accurate statement. You can't just add across all the columns and come up with the number of people. You come up with the number of service instead. Staff told me that they were going to be working to be able to pull apart individual numbers of clients. And so my question is, on that button that we're seeing now of number of clients, is that what that represents?
Yeah, that's a good question. These are still aggregated numbers, not client-specific numbers. The client-specific reporting will begin hopefully in the spring. So these are still aggregate client numbers that unfortunately can't be deduplicated at this time.
The services are unduplicated, but there's a possibility of duplicate clients receiving the service.
Or a client could be receiving multiple services.
Okay, right.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
And Meredith.
Just going back to the website, it's like, I don't know if I just missed it, but I was looking at, the mental health piece. It's like, I see that, some of those numbers are the people that we're funding, but it's like, I don't see anything on there as far as like crisis. Like if you can't get a hold of this number, where's like the emergency number? I don't know if we're posting that, like suicide prevention or mobile crisis or the crisis numbers. I don't know if that's something that we're looking at, or if that's something that should be on there.
That is a good suggestion, and I think we can look at how to incorporate 988 and mental, kind of a statewide crisis line somewhere into that slide.
Awesome, thanks.
Thank you. Good suggestion. Well, we'll make sure we get you all the press release. That includes the link to this, so you can take a look and peruse at your leisure. Happy to answer any questions you think of. Back to you, Amy. I think you're just going to pass it back to me.
Right? I caught it. Now I'm throwing it back. And we got Kristen's going to present us with the OHA updates.
Yeah, so I just want to let you all know we'll continue to bring these extensions to you all over the next few weeks. So attendance at these meetings is really important, just so we can make sure we get quorum and pass them. Hopefully we'll bring bigger and bigger batches as we get a little bit better at this. I also wanted to let you all know that Pledge Days is happening. Myself and Ebony Clark testified in front of Senate Judiciary this morning, and we'll be in front of House Behavioral Health and Healthcare on Friday morning, if anyone's interested. Those things are happening, and I believe Dharma is joining us on Friday as well. Yes, looking forward to that. And so I think the last thing on our agenda is just a media subcommittee update. If anyone who was at the media subcommittee wants to give an update from that meeting, I just want to hold space for that.
Meredith's hand is still up from earlier.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'll lower it. It's slow to respond. Sorry about that. There you go.
You're good. You're good.
Well, I could give a little bit of a rundown, which is that the folks from Commons, I think it's Rob Cowie, who's maybe the director of OHA Comms. I'm not sure what his title is, but he came and he kind of answered, he was there in response to a number of questions that the subcommittee had regarding how OHA was going to support the council in terms of press releases, media communications, using the newsletter. What was the plan was our question for OHA in terms of putting out press releases and getting positive stories of providers and positive success stories about the work that's being done in Measure 110. What was the plan for how that was going to work was what our question was to Rob, to OHA, to Measure 110 staff. And then Rob Cowie was coming to us with answers to those questions. Rob Cowie indicated that the Measure 110, or that the Oregon Health Authority's Twitter feed and Facebook newsletter was all accessible to us in terms of being able to get content out to people. He indicated that the newsletter, the OHA newsletter, has a circulation of over 160,000 people. And so, which is bigger than the Oregonian circulation. And so being able to get information out in terms of press releases, positive stories, provider profiles, success stories of Measure 110 through those channels would be something that the OHA would be willing to do. And to that end, the council was then asked the question, well, how do we get information to, or we were asked by OHA, Rob Cowie, to provide information to, would the council support them in collecting stories, positive stories, provider profiles, and being able to provide that to OHA to be able to post on their Twitter, they're formerly known as Twitter and Facebook, and the newsletter, and to be able to issue press releases. And so there was kind of a conversation that we were presented what the tools were available at OHA, and we were told that we could be helpers in driving those stories to OHA Comms to be able to publish them. And that's kind of how I remember the meeting. Morgan, did you have more?
No, I had just, asked for the workflow, because not just the sourcing the positive stories, but also, when we see things that might warrant a press release, which I saw yesterday, I don't think they ever really clearly answered who I email about that. Like, how do I initiate a request to comms for something to become a press release?
I'll own that one, Morgan. I think I owe everyone an email, so I will make sure I get that. I'm writing it down. I will get that out to you all this afternoon, along with the press release.
Well, there's something, I think it could be a pretty simple press release. Do you want me to just mention it here? And I don't know if we need to make a vote or something. That there was a, what?
I think Tim Hyder's here, isn't he?
Tim was here.
Okay, he's not here anymore.
Yeah.
There was a story about the contracts that we terminated, and did we release a press release about that at all, or was it just people observing our meetings?
We did not issue a press release. Those were just in response to this public meeting.
Okay, so then, so that's something that's going to require a press release, because the way it was framed in the media took a pretty dramatically different interpretation of it, because that was, terminating contracts like that is quite literally us providing oversight and accountability, which is in our name. And that's what we did. Issues were brought to us, and we took action to ensure accountability in our system. And I do think that that's going to require a press release to since the media is already talking about it.
And I can just say, Morgan, that we were contacted for comment and provided comment in that article.
But yeah, maybe in the future, next time we terminate things, releasing a press release in advance or giving a fuller picture before it turns into that.
I'm happy to pass that feedback along to comms, and we can keep that in mind in the future. Right.
Any other comments? Did you cover everything on the list, Kristen?
I think I did. That is all I have. So back to you.
Okay, so I guess if we don't have anything else, if you do, that's great, but there's nothing else on the agenda for today. And so we can give you part of your afternoon back, and if that's sounds good to everybody, and we can end this meeting.
Oh, you're giving
Thank
me
you,
a
everyone.
documenting
Thank
time.
you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.